What's good, everybody? Romero 17 here, and we're going to do kind of like a recap of what we saw earlier today in my live stream. We did a live reaction video to the UFC 5 first look trailer that we have here. But that was about like 44 minutes long. If you weren't there for the live stream, you kind of missed out. It was a really good, really good time. But for the new features that they showed us, like the gameplay and features, I wanted to do two separate videos. One covering what we've seen from the striking and what we can deduce from there, which I've already spoken about in the live, and then the grappling, which we'll cover in a second video. So for right now, I want to talk about the striking, right? So let's go with the negative. The negative thing was regards to the presentation of the striking. They could have asked myself, Marshall, a couple other guys, to showcase the striking for them for this gameplay reveal. I think it would have done much better because for all intents and purposes, this replay looks nice, right? The damage, they're talking about the real impact system and everything else like that. And the damage is crazy good. This is gameplay footage, right? But when they're having the fighters fight, right? So they're showing all this forward moving janky striking that's not really cohesive because the people who are showing us the striking, they're not really doing it correctly, right? Like if the game isn't played in a certain way, it does not look aesthetically pleasing. Because I'll show you, we're talking about the new animations that they talked about on like the dev interview and everything else like that. And because of how this is being played right now, you don't even get to notice that there's like some new animations that we see right there, right? You see the jab lead body hook for, say, Amanda Nunes looks different, right? You're not even going to be able to see that the lead hook off of the whiff, even the lead hook itself, is going to look different. But because it's played at such a very high pass, now dare I say casual type of pace, and everything is forward moving strikes at a time, you're not really being able to showcase the game to the best of its ability, which is why we're going to see a lot more quote-unquote outrage, or people are saying that certain things are the same because not a lot of the new features striking-wise in terms of animation utility is being shown. Like, my guess is like, look, if you're going to have new animations, they're going to have some type of utility to it. I mean, otherwise, why would you add them in, right? That's just my guess. But even if there's not any utility to them, at least showcase all the newer strikes in a way where us, as the consumer, when we're watching this new gameplay trailer, that we're seeing everything properly. So it's kind of like the downside about it. Obviously, I had to gloss past it. I wanted to look really focused on all the positive stuff, but I am going to address that negative portion so people can kind of understandably so, see why people are like that. And let me see. The quality's at 1080p, 60. So, it looks good. But now we can focus on the positive. And the positive is with the damage impact system, and then with the reveal of the whole doctor stoppages, and of course the concept of draws, although that can be mixed in with the grappling too. So first things first with this real impact system, right? The key thing we got to pay attention to is a little tidbit that Cormier says here, right? We're having Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena strike. I don't know which developer's talking right now, but
foundation of the real impact system, authentic damage. Damage impacts your fighter's attributes during the game. So, if you got a cut bleeding into your eye, it will lower your defensive abilities on that side of the body. And if you take one too many kicks to your lead leg, you'll start to limp, your mobility will decline, and your attack power will drop.
So the game is talking about attributes. We're talking about attributes here. So what attributes are we familiar with from the last few previous series from this company? Well, it's the chin, recovery, leg strength, body health, and what else? Let me make sure I got that right. We got chin, body health, leg strength, recovery, cardio, right? Cardio is part of that shit too, right? So with the real impact damage system, they're talking about affecting attributes. So logically speaking, it would be affecting those 5 attributes, right? Because those are the 5 things that get affected by damage. Cardio gets affected by, body damage, or how many times you get stunned in a round. Body damage obviously definitely affects the stamina. Head damage also affects how far you can really trade with somebody, and if your cardio gets really low, you're more susceptible to take more damage, which is the whole short-term stamina damage and everything else like that. And then one thing that Cormier had said, he ends up saying that if your fighter is taking too much damage to this side, then it's much harder to defend on that side or whatnot. So damage wise, when you see there's damage on your opponent, it would probably incentivize the fighter to start attacking that side more with strikes from that specific side. So why I like that is that it does kind of changed the game to a point where, okay, now you're really trying to target where your opponent is hurt. I like to look at it. Let's put up an example of, like, Chang Sung Jung versus Jose Aldo. The shoulder gets hurt, right? Aldo sees that shoulder's hurt, so he starts kicking the shit out of that left leg, that shoulder with his left leg. He starts kicking the crap out of it because he sees that it's hurt. So that's kind of where, like, I think the striking is going to be geared going into. Now I think the biggest concern is that, well, what if this guy pressures me and throws a bunch of combos, and et cetera. Well, one, you should already know all your counters by now, and if the real impact system is working accordingly, then that means your counter should be rewarded as well. Because if I'm catching you in your 3-4 piece combinations, and I'm stunning you, and I'm opening up a cut on you, that's going to increase the likelihood of a doctor stoppage, would be my guess, right? Because you got to be able to reward the counter striking too of somebody that is countering somebody who's super aggressive. Conversely, if somebody has poor defense and they're getting work like that, then they should be getting the hell out of there as soon as possible, right? Can't be there for too long. So if we look over here, right, we're going to look at the icons, right? So they point out the icons, they zoom in on the icons right there. This is referring to the eye. If they're going to talk about affecting attributes, you have to think about, okay, cardio, something like the nose breaking or something with the liver getting hurt would be along the lines of affecting cardio. I would like them to have been more open with these icons and whatnot. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more from them explaining these icons, because we can only guess. If they're going with eye damage, common things that get cut, like the mouth, the cheek, and everything else like that. They're showing us forehead cuts and everything else like that. And this is probably more likely than not like the doctor stoppage, like, symbol, like getting them warning to come in. Now, all that being spoken in mind, now we're going to focus on, like, the doctor stoppage, because that would also play a part with rewarding better, more precise striking, which is what the game looks like it's leaning towards that direction. Like, if you want to brawl, you're putting yourself at risk for all this to happen. If you brawl as efficiently as possible, then you'll get your wish. However, if you run into a really devastating counter striker, then you're really gonna feel it. So, one thing with the doctor stoppage, what it seems like right here, right? We'll see. Let's go right here, right? So, Colby is elbowing the crap out of Leon. We're seeing this animation. Herb is asking the doctor to come in. The doctor checks in, goes on his head, and he tells Herb it's fine. Okay, he tells him it's fine. He's like, all right, no, he'll be all right. So that'll probably be like the tell for us. If we're playing and a doctor comes in, this is where, like, yo, you need to get on your horse and you got to start going, because they might stop this fight if you continue to take more damage on this side. They said that it's only going to be like a 2% chance of a doctor stoppage happening. So I would really tell players, like, finish your fights. Finish your fights, and this is assuming other stuff is fixed, but issues that we've spoken about very vocally since UFC 4, mainly with regards to the ground and pound and people sweeping people and whatnot, because it makes people not want to jump on their finishes, and it puts their opponents in a higher chance to get a comeback on them. Now we look at the other animation right here where Tony's really busted up. He got blood on his chest. Doctor waves it off. It's like a GG right there, right? Like the doctor calls off the fight. So that's a really cool addition, especially striking wise. Now the other thing too is, let's get past all that stuff, right? Because we're gonna cover the grappling much later. They were speaking about, just referee interactions, online draws, right? New striking, right? If the striking is really that close, right? If the striking is really that emphatic, things like the damage, doctor stoppage stuff, or doctor warnings and whatnot, I wonder how that's going to play a part with what's going to determine a draw. I think this is probably like one of the better things that they've added in, and I'll discuss what I think should apply with the grappling when it comes to the draws as well, because remember, this is a mixed martial arts game. But that's gonna pretty much cover my thoughts on the striking. Just another quick recap, presentation on the striking could have been a lot better, but clearly there's new animations that they didn't really do as good of a job as they should have showcasing that. The real impact system is definitely something to look forward to, as well as like the threat of doctor stoppages, the threat of attributes being affected by specific strikes that can affect what strikes we want to counter with, that can affect how we want to counter, when we want to counter. And I think that's trending. That's going to make the game trend to the right direction with regards to the striking and killing a lot of like the zombie type of stuff that goes on in UFC 4. But that's going to be it for the striking portion. I'll be right back with y'all with a grappling version.